Yeah, we don't need to say hello to people.
But the thing is that it feels unnatural not to. Like, to just jump into...
Today we're talking about Suspiria.
And Suspiria.
Welcome back. That's, yeah.
Suspiria.
What we need is, it's just us going like, ba, 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 and then we need a narrator going.
Susie Banyan decided to perfect her ballet studies in the most famous school of dance in Europe. She chose the celebrated Academy of Freiburg. One day at 9 in the morning, she left Kennedy Airport, New York, and arrived in Germany at 10:40 p.m. local time.
So I guess to start, we should give a little bit of backstory on Suspiria and its sequels.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about the remake, the 2018 remake. Suspiria from 1977 is a part of a trilogy that maybe is not very well known.
We didn't know.
We didn't know about it. I knew about Inferno. I knew of the movie. I just didn't realize it was related.
No idea.
The trilogy is Suspiria from 1977, Inferno from 1980, and then all the way from 2007, Mother of Tears, all by Dario Argento.
Yeah.
It's his Three Mothers trilogy.
So Suspiria introduces a very vague mythology. We understand it's a coven, that it has like a leader, Mother Suspiriorum, the Mother of Sighs. And we are peripherally aware that there are two other mothers of some kind elsewhere. And both of those are explored in Inferno and Mother of Tears. Not as successfully. Not quite as successfully as Suspiria.
Sure.
Worth watching, at least Inferno. Inferno has the same production quality.
Yeah, the atmosphere is there.
The atmosphere, the colors, the set. Suspiria even is light on plot, but I feel like, and vague in its plot. And Inferno is even more vague and kind of convoluted.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of people being confused, but we're also confused.
Argento has a knack for extremely long death sequences.
Yeah.
And Inferno has this drifting protagonist feel where we're following different people through the movie, but it's almost like he just wanted the most elaborate death possible. So we're just following this person for what feels like 20 minutes of the movie just for them to be, okay, yeah, turns out that's not the main character.
Killed next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend it too much, but I also think Mother of Tears is worth watching. You definitely got to give it some slack. I don't know. We don't have to. Let's talk about Suspiria.
So the original Suspiria is known for its vibes. Basically, it's scored by Goblin. It's one of your faves. The insane colors and lights used throughout the movie from the get-go. Everyone talks about that opening death scene with the window, the stained glass and all that stuff. So we're in it, and it's hard not to lock into something so visually stunning. Yeah.
I have this on 4K.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot. And basically the plot we're presented with is pretty bare bones, but again, the vibes are there. So we have a young woman coming to a dance academy. She's an American woman moving to Freiburg, Germany, to study at a dance academy, ballet. She starts to realize that something is not right. She arrived on the night that another dancer disappeared.
Yeah.
And she comes to realize it's witches. It's a coven of witches. They're using the dancers as, I don't know, just killing dancers because they're witches.
I got the sense that, in the original anyway, that they only kill her because they only kill the people who are getting too knowledgeable about
they're
their
poking
secrets.
Around. Yeah, they know too
much.
I guess that's true.
They may be killing them just for the heck of it, but it doesn't. To me, it seems like the Dance Academy is purely just a front. It's just a way for them to cover the fact that they're a coven. So they just run this Dance Academy sort of. That's just their side job.
Yeah.
It's one of the best changes that the remake offers, in my opinion, is making the dancing
central
part of the story, part of the magic, part of their witchcraft. The dancing is integral to it. And
that's why I love the remake so much, is that I feel like the original Suspiria put a lot on the table. They put a lot there, but didn't spend any time with it. You know, the setting, 70s Germany, dance academy, all this witches, magic, dancing, all this stuff. There's so much there. And Luca Guadagnino, the director of the Suspiria remake, took that and like really fleshed it out.
I looking through the reviews on Letterboxd, it seems to be just basically half the people who watch this were like, "This is too much, man. Well, it's way too much."
It is a lot.
We both really enjoyed this, even when we first watched it.
Yeah. Well, I like a dense text. Whether it's film or books, I like it. It's one of those, I saw that movie and it's like, there is a lot going on here. And I am not immediately, like, I feel like I have just reached clarity on that movie. And I've probably seen it 5 times at least.
It takes a long time to digest something like this.
Yeah. And it takes, more importantly, I think the missing ingredient for me, historical comprehension.
Yeah.
So, interesting. So, Luca, I'm going to call him Luca for the sake of ease, made the decision to set the film in 1977 Germany, which is when the original was, but that's just because that was the year that it was.
Yeah. That the original movie came out in 1977. This takes place the exact same year, which is really cool.
Which is an important year in German history. It's what they call the German Autumn.
Yeah.
We have the Bader Meinhof debacle, the hostage situation. So I wanted to very briefly and broadly go over what is happening historically in Germany right here.
Sure.
Because it did so much for my comprehension of what the movie is trying to do. Because you see it throughout the movie. You hear it on the radio. You see it on the TV. They make comments about it. You see bombs go off. There's posters. It is very present.
The witches use it as a cover
for
their crimes. As soon as Patricia is missing, they're like, well,
she went off with the RAF.
She wanted to go blow up a supermarket instead of learn dance. So screw her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, very broadly, so we're in Germany. It's World War II ended 1945. It's 1977 now, so it's been 32 years since World War II. The generation of children that have grown up in this period of time saw their fathers and mothers and their grandparents as part of Nazi history. Right. And so it's the first generation that's reckoning with this cultural guilt and shame and fury, because a lot of members of the Nazi party are now just in government. They're owning businesses. They're just chilling.
Yeah.
And so there's this generation, especially, it's the 70s. So in the world, everyone is riled up. But so this German generation is pissed off. So essentially, the RAF hijack a plane to get the German government to let Bader and Meinhof, 2 leaders of the RAF, out of prison. That was the purpose of the hijacking. Bader and Meinhof ended up dying in prison. They weren't successful in this. But this whole generational turmoil kind of came to a head in 1977, which they call the German Autumn. And it is in the thick of this hostage crisis that this movie is set. It's like in the exact week of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, the themes that are pulled out from history, themes of guilt and shame and shifting of generations, of passing on things, of moving on from darkness, and you can see this in the dance. It's not a dance school in this one. It's a dance company. So they're professional. They're adults. They're professionals. But in this dance company and in the coven, you see that echo of a change of hand.
Yes.
In it, yeah, because we're pretty immediately introduced to Mother Marcos as the leader of this coven. We see a vote early on.
Yeah.
There's a coven between who do we want us to lead us, Mother Marcos or Madame Blanc, played by Tilda Swinton. And they vote Marcos, the same. She's always been the leader.
Yeah.
She calls herself Mother Superiorum. She's one of these entities.
Yes.
She claims to be her.
She claims to be Mother Superiorum, and what she wants, because she's ancient and her body's falling apart from all the evil and magic, she needs a new body. That's where we enter the movie. That's what the witches need. Yep. They need a brand new Mother Marcos.
And they failed. We're introduced to their failure at the beginning of the movie with Patricia. She's acting crazy, talking about coven. She goes to her psychologist, Dr. Klemperer.
Also played by Tilda Swinton.
Yeah. So we're pretty immediately introduced to this coven of witches who have had the same leader for a long time. They've been trying and failing to get her a body and killing girls in the process. Yeah, so turns out that Susie, our protagonist, played by Dakota Johnson, is actually Mother Superiorum. Something she comes to understand over the course of the movie slowly. She's always had this draw to Berlin. She's this natural talent for dance for some unknown reason. And it's her natural talent for magic is what she has.
Yes. So that's a major change from the original.
Yes.
In the original, Susie Bannion is
just
a non-magical, non-witch.
She's just a final girl.
She's just she's a bystander to all this. And in the remake, Susie takes on a very strange type of final girl role. It's unique throughout, and when they do the reveal that she is actually she's the returned Mother Superiorum, the big reveal, it makes all of that other stuff make sense. There's a bunch of scenes that are just sort of like strange.
We see flashbacks of her childhood, and her mother on her deathbed refers to Susie as her sin.
Yeah.
Like her greatest sin.
Yeah.
You see that Susie as a child was drawn to Berlin for like intently for some unknown reason. We see her she somehow has this like insane dance ability despite never having had training.
No training, but a lifelong obsession.
A lifelong obsession with that specific dance company and that specific dance, Volk.
Yeah.
And so I really like Susie's arc through this. She starts out as seemingly so innocent and, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and like she grows very slowly. She grows in her understanding of herself, of who she really is, and of her own power. And what's interesting is that her takeover, essentially, of the coven, and I'll preface, I used to not like the ending. I did not like that ending, the whole, like, bloodbath of it all. I was like, what? What the hell was that? Like, what is this music? What is that? Why are we doing this? Like, I was very confused, but I think I've grown to like it a lot more in this sense. This is where the historical understanding comes in, because like she presents herself and she was like, Mother Marcos is a fraud. She's not Mother Suspiriorum. I am. And what y'all have been doing, this coven has been doing, is wrong. And it's not correct.
Yeah.
And we're out with the olds. She kills Mother Marcos and every person who voted for Mother Marcos. And then keeps alive everyone who voted for Madame Blanc. And mercifully kills the victims we've seen, Patricia and Olga, the ones that are shells of their former selves. And in this, there is a changing of generation into a different kind of...
And specifically, the violent expulsion of the nefarious actors.
Yes.
In the hierarchy.
Very violent. Yeah, very violent. But oddly...
that's the mirror of...
Yes, exactly. And oddly, very... I don't know, kind.
Death to any other mother.
But then the scene that used to really confuse me probably the most was the follow-up scene where Susie, now fully Mother Suspiriorum, goes and visits Dr. Klemperer.
Yeah. It's an interesting scene. There's a bunch of so on the surface, it feels merciful. Mm-hmm. That'd be a good word for it. It feels like a merciful thing she's granting the doctor. Mm-hmm. You don't have to live with this pain anymore.
Yeah.
But the more I think about that scene, the more tricky that gets. Because in a literal historical sense, that is exactly how you would get a new evil coven, is erase all the memories of the evil coven. And that specifically is a tool of fascism.
That's true.
Stamping out the history.
But I think that line that she says, she says, the world needs guilt, doctor, and shame, but not yours. And that's when she takes away his memory. And she's not specifically taking away, she is taking away he was captured and basically used as a witness in that whole bloodbath scene. So that was traumatic as hell. Lying on the floor naked, watching all of that happen. But she's specifically taking away his memory of the Holocaust.
So I was going to say, he's a witness in more ways than one. He is. He bears witness to the real horrors of history and the coven.
Exactly. And a lot of people take particular issue with that B plot. So there's a whole other side plot happening the entire movie with this doctor, who we're introduced to as Patricia's psychologist. And after she dies, he has her journal that's all about the covens and he's trying to figure out what happened to her and investigating the witches and all this stuff. And we learn that he had a wife who disappeared during the Holocaust. He carries an immense amount of guilt for not getting her out in time.
Yeah.
It's like there was a period of time in which he could have and he didn't, and he lives with that guilt, and then that incredible pain of not knowing what happened to her. And so Susie gives him a gift of telling him exactly what happened to her. The story, like, you know, she tried to get out. She was captured. She was sent here. She died this way. And I when I watch like true crime stuff, it's always the ones who have missing loved ones that's so much worse than having a loved one who was killed, because you don't know. And like, hope is a motherfucker, you know? And it's like, so just giving him the gift of that knowledge, and then like a cathartic release of that pain, and then taking away that entire, like, just scooping out all of that guilt and shame and knowledge of that happening, and along with it, yes, like what he witnessed, but I don't think that was her purpose.
I don't think it's meant to be. I don't think we're supposed to think she's like equivalent to Mother Marcos or anything like that. I think it's blurry. It is turning a page.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Yeah, it's messy and complicated, but just like an actual transition of power would be.
Yeah, because it's like that was what used to be confusing to me. I was like, she's not good. Like, she's not an angel. She's not like morality and goodness incarnate. Like, there's evil here still. And it's just this, it's such a blurry line of what is she? And it's like, she's different. I think that if they were, you know, they clearly made this decision to make it this political and cultural commentary, and I think he is the character that cements that. Like, it's his experience branching
Dr.
these
Klemper?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Like, branching these 2 years, you know, like he's haunted by the past. Yes. And like seeing that, because otherwise we're following the women, like the coven, they're older women, and even Madame Blanc mentions that she first choreographed and presented Volk in the years immediately after the war ended. Yes. So they are situated within the real German history as well. But that's pretty much all we get of their part in history. It's his witness of that time and his pain. He stands as like for the German people. The character is a stand-in for the German people, the guilt and shame of and horror.
Well, he's a stand-in for German people, but he's a stand-in for people as well. Yeah. One of the things about
that's true,
making your final girl not
human,
a final girl not human, means we don't have any.
We need a human.
We need someone to like
to bear witness.
We're humans.
Yeah.
We got to see this story through someone's eyes.
Yeah. He is literally the witness. Like he witnessed history. He witnessed all of this. They steal him to be the witness of the whole ceremony. Yeah. It's a dense movie.
Yeah.
I really like that we're with a dance company of mature adult women. Argento, with his original intent was to create this movie at a dance academy, but for young girls, like 10, 11-year-old girls, so children. And the studio wouldn't let him. They didn't want horrible things happening to young girls.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, but he still made them very childlike.
One of the biggest differences between the two is, I would say, Argento's feels like a dream.
Yeah.
If it's like you're experiencing a dream, and I think that would have only added to that if they were younger, because that's something interesting about, for instance, movies like It Follows, where there's no authority figures. The kids are on their own, which feels like a Goosebumps book.
Yeah.
It feels like a dream. It feels like it just feels
that's a primal thing.
Yeah.
We've all been kids. It's like that's why Skinamarink was so successful.
Yeah.
Is that as children we've experienced that kind of fear.
Yes.
And so yeah, it would have
felt even more dreamlike.
Yeah.
But the dreamlike quality of the original is definitely cast aside in the remake. He doesn't hold on to that at all, because like we said, with the historical backdrop, Luca Guadagnino is leaning in hard onto the realism. That is
hard.
Yes, it is. This is real life Germany.
Yeah.
So when stuff starts happening, and I think the first big thing is Olga, the Olga scene.
Yeah.
It's sort of the first big moment.
And the most memorable and most extreme. I mean, that's probably one of the most upsetting depictions of violence.
We'll get to that. I just wanted to say that contrast with the realism that makes the magic feel way more vicious, way more shocking, way more magic.
Yeah.
In Argento's, it's hard to tell what's happening because they're witches and we're in a magic movie, or this is happening just because it's an Argento movie. Like, just little details that aren't even a plot point. Like when Pat's running from the school in the beginning, just the shot of her running through the woods, it's like she's running through a diorama.
It's a fairy tale.
Yes. It looks
a lot of
like
people talk about Suspiria, the original, as a fairy tale.
That's a good word for
it. Which
it
is. The kids, the woods, the big house, the witches.
Even that beginning where she's in the airport, it's the doors are opening and the music is starting only when the doors are open.
Yeah, the wind.
Yeah.
The drama.
Yeah, it's like as soon as you cross this threshold, you are leaving the real world now.
Yeah.
And in Guadagnino's, it's we not only do we never leave the real world.
No.
It's more so than even most movies.
They're like shoving your face into it. They're like he won't let you look away from the reality of this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you think of any examples of one actor playing multiple roles that are not comedic? Because the obvious example that I thought of when I first of all, you wouldn't know Tilda Swinton was playing 3 characters in this movie.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah. You might notice that's a person in old man makeup for some reason.
I wasn't sure of that either. When I didn't know, they kept that pretty close to the vest for the entirety of the pre the movie coming out. They credited that person with a name, like he's in the trailer with a false name.
Interesting.
Yeah, and their story, they had the whole cast had a story that he's a private person, a real German, and he's not made out for this like press junket thing, so he's not with us.
Okay.
And they really stuck with that, even past the point that people knew. They were still just kind of playing along with he's private, But
what I was gonna say is the movie that it made me think of when I first found out that was Tilda Swinton. There's 2 movies that came to mind. One, Dr. Strangelove, where Peter Sellers plays 3 different characters, 2 or 3 different characters, and then obviously Eddie Murphy.
I don't want no potato. You know mashed potatoes give me gas. In my day, Sherman, people used to spend time with their family on Sundays and special occasion, come around and pay their respect.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so absurd and silly that's what I'm thinking of when you tell me about Suspiria's 2018 remake. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, I can't think of many examples where the same actor plays multiple roles for a reason that is separate from doppelgangers and twins and straight laughs. Because these are not played.
A reason for it.
Suspiria is not a.
And I don't even know that there's a reason for it here. I think they just wanted to.
Well, I think whether or not there is a reason, whether or not there was a reason going into it, it's sort of drenched in meaning now. Yeah. It sort of creates this interesting, because first of all, Dr. Klemper is the only male character with like a speaking part.
Yeah.
Which means the end result.
He's played by a woman.
Exactly. The end result is a movie that only has female speaking parts. They only have lead roles for women. Now, in my opinion, his gender is important for the character. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that a male witness this sort of like explosion of feminine power. Yeah. I think it would have hit different if that character was female. Mm-hmm. But it gives this energy, this feminine energy to the movie. Once you find out that it's like, man, they didn't even... The only men that I can think of in the movie are the cops, which that scene, they don't have much to say or do.
They're props.
Yeah, they're literally props. They're literally objectified.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool scene.
I love that her response is laughing, because that's not the Susie we would expect. Exactly. She has a Mennonite background. She's so innocent and naive, and she sees these old women cackling, and like the policemen are naked, frozen, apparently awake, and they're like playing with their dicks, and like, what is going on? And she laughs.
When you first see it, you're like, what is happening? But then her reaction to it being so passive, so...
She doesn't even tell Sarah.
No, she doesn't mention it. And it's like that. Okay, so again, knowing what we know, that she is Mother Superiorum, these are just hints of like, this is normal. Yeah. What men are our playthings.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
they're nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially that they're cops.
Yeah,
they are specifically a power figure, or what we would expect to be a power figure. And they are, in that moment, you find out who has the fucking power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And interestingly, Tilda Swinton isn't the only person that plays more than one role in this movie.
I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
So I just realized this. I was looking at the cast list today, and Susie's mother plays Death.
Yeah, the embodiment of death at the end of the movie.
Which is another very, like, you would never know. That figure is not... But it's like...
Again, drenched in meaning.
Drenched in meaning. It's like, now it has my, like, brains work. So I'm like... Because I was always a little confused about her relationship, Susie's relationship to this figure. Like, I've heard it referred to as her familiar. I've heard it referred to as the devil or as Death. It's credited as Death. And now that I know it's played by her mother, I'm like, is that her mother? Like, her mother's dead. She died horribly. That wheezing, the sighing that we hear throughout the movie.
That's so her mom represents death even in the
like the thematic
flashbacks.
sense.
Yeah, because she's got that death rattle. She's got the gravelly breathing. And so I think it's supposed to be her mom in the sense that, like, to her, to this Mother Superiorum, yes, this is how death is brought about. The way I look at it is like, if Mother Marcos had summoned, if she even could, which she probably couldn't because she's the false mother or whatever. But if a different mother summoned some sort of figure like this, that I think it would appear differently.
Yeah.
Sort of like how the aliens look different. They have different physiology based on the thing they chest burst out of. It's one of those.
Yeah.
It's like, this is Susie's aspect of death.
Yeah, and I think it's actually her mother, like, coming back out of hell
to blow up some heads
at her behest.
She's my sin. She's what I smeared on the world.
It's kind of a good for her movie.
Absolutely.
Which I love. You know, we love a good for her movie. And actually, the female empowerment here, I think it just, like, this past rewatch has kind of brought to me the power of this movie as far as that goes. Like basically an all-female cast. I think we have the cops, but they're objects, which is a complete reversal of what we usually see. We usually see a cast full of men with a couple women objects. And I think it was so smart to take, because, you know, witches, covens, the occult, all of that has also another historical root with, you know, powerful women being accused of being witches and killed throughout history just because of that. Fear of woman is where witchdom comes from as folklore.
Yeah. Yes, it's specifically a male-centric, warped view of a power that people are recognizing in women. And part of that, and that's very present in this movie too, part of that power comes from their ability to create life. Mm-hmm. It's something men historically see as something women hold over us or something. Mm-hmm. I obviously don't feel that way, but it's like, you can do literal magic. We don't know what
genuine power.
Yeah, this is you have a power. Yeah, it's
yeah, and I think that, you know, that all kind of plays with the whole mother thing. That's why there's so many mothers in this movie. She's the mother, they're the mothers, everyone's the mother of the thing. And like, you know, and she kind of gives birth to, you know, like, what is that chest scene? That there's a lot going on with that when she like rips open her chest, this like mouth vagina looking thing happening.
We definitely can't show this on YouTube, but just imagine that. Mm-hmm. Just get a good... Mm-hmm. Just imagine that.
Yeah. I think it was also so clever to bring the dance aspect to the front and make that specifically the magic.
Yes.
So in the original, the mechanism of it's just magic. But in this, their magic, their spells are specifically the dancing.
Yes.
Enacted through they use the women dancing as like wands, basically, you know, like as the...
It's such a smart detail that I'm not going to say anything bad about the original. I love the original.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece. But that one detail in the remake, it makes me go, why didn't you have something like that in the original?
He put so much on the table and just left it there. Yeah. And so it's like, I love that because Luca Guadagnino had a lifelong love of Suspiria. He saw it when he was young as like 14-year-old. It blew his mind. You know, ever since he was like that young, he wanted to remake Suspiria. He's had a passion for it. And it took him a long time, even before his like, you know, he started getting success. He did a lot of French, like obscure French. He did a couple features, some short films, some documentaries. Then he had I Am Love, starring Tilda Swinton, an Italian language movie that played through the festival circuit and got him some backing. And then came a bigger splash with Dakota Johnson and Tilda Swinton again. And that pushed him forward. And then he did Call Me By Your Name, which is what really kind of propelled him into something else. And he was planning Suspiria before Call Me By Your Name. Like that, he was cooking on that while making Call Me By Your Name, which is my favorite movie, by the way. So Luca Guadagnino is my favorite director. I haven't said that. He's my favorite director. So Bones and All and Call Me By Your Name are two of my all-time favorite movies. What he does as a filmmaker is what I would do as a filmmaker. It makes every choice he makes perfect sense to me. It's just, I love the realism of his movies, the amount of time he spends on, he takes his time in film to really let you experience a world and like see the stuff on the table. There's a realism. He doesn't cut out the sound of the locust, you know, the car sounds. He doesn't cut out sounds. He lets you hear it. the way he makes films is perfect in my view.
We talked about that when we watched Bones and All. The what I guess I would call an exaggerated naturalism with his lighting. There's the shot of where you can see he's in the car and you can see the red light just like drenching him from the brake lights, and it's like that's not how it really looks when you're in a car.
Yeah.
But that's how it feels when you're in a car.
Yes.
And he's good at like
yes, and it's
the
like
feeling of sunset,
yes,
the feeling of
summer in Italy in the 1980s. Like you can feel the heat, you know, or the coolness of the river. There's something extraordinarily visceral and sensory centric in his filmmaking that I don't see elsewhere. It's everything. I love it so much. And I don't love all of his films. Challengers wasn't for me. Queer wasn't for me. I loved, there was a lot of aspects I loved about it, but still his filmmaking is perfect to me. And one thing I like about, I was watching interviews of him and stuff for this, is how much he respects his audience. Like he even talked about specifically in an interview about Suspiria, you know, how much is going on there, you know, how dense it is and like all this history and cultural stuff. And he was like, I respect my audience's intelligence. He says that explicitly. And it's like, and he really does. Yeah. He's not going to hold your hand. He is not going to hold your hand for 2 seconds. If you didn't see him look at him for those 2 seconds, you missed something. And it's like, and I love that extreme attention to detail. And it comes from respect. You know, he doesn't have to like restate a joke, you know, or like hold your hand. It's this. He respects your intelligence, and I genuinely appreciate that. Even when I don't fully, like, Suspiria, I didn't understand the history behind this, and understanding the history made me enjoy it more. But
it's interesting that I think my favorite scene from Call Me by Your Name, or my favorite moment, is also one of where he's exploring the repercussions of World War II in Europe, because it's where Elio he looks up at the painting of Mussolini and he like hides his Star of David.
Those details.
It's that echo of history.
It's so, that's what it has, that feeling, you know, like I've mentioned before, the difference in Halloween and like Prom Night 2 versus Prom Night, the feeling of like richness and color versus the feeling of like blandness and like, you know, quiet. It's like his movies feel so alive to me. They have so much richness. I like to Call Me by Your Name and Bones and All are both movies I've seen. Call Me by Your Name I've probably seen over 30 times at least. Bones and All I'm hitting around 15 at this point. But I've sometimes watched those movies, both of them, while drawing or sewing and not ever looking at the screen and just listening. And there is so much there to listen to.
Well,
and
alive is such a good word.
It's alive, yeah.
For this style of filmmaking, because one of the things a lot of the bad reviews will mention about Suspiria is the blandness or the drabness. And it's like, guys, look past the color palette.
Yeah.
The color palette is intentionally muted. It is intentionally the opposite of Argento's color palette. I get that.
Yeah, he didn't want to copy paste.
Sure. But the interiors are impactful.
Yes. Patterns.
The costuming is great. And man, did they pay special attention to the graphic design in Suspiria. Every detail. First of all, there's the font choices for the on-screen text.
Yeah, the colors for different languages.
There's different, the colorful subtitles are one thing, but even the in-world graphic design, like the dance or the dance troupe posters and things like that, all this ephemera for this world that they live in. They really did a fantastic job building this world. It is, it's incredible.
And I feel like what they lacked in color, which was purposeful, you know, it's like we're not recreating Suspiria. They punched with geometry and graphics. So the floors, all the floors had this insane geometric tile happening. The buildings, the brutalism. There's a lot of brutalist structures, like sharp lines and very Dr. Caligari, you know, like very if we want to get snooty. But like, so it still had impact visually. I think, you know, people, when you say Suspiria, people think colors. So when they didn't get that, they were like, well, where are my colors? And it's like, it was everywhere else. It was literally everywhere else.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm obsessed with in Suspiria is Susie's hair. That hair is the most like female gaze hair I've ever seen. Like that, it's just middle part, straight, like below the waist length red hair. I have had that hair in my past because it is like, there's so much like divine feminine power in long hair. And and of course these like short hair too, but like, you know, there's a thing about that like crazy long hair. And she has the same hair that Tilda Swinton's character has, that Madame Blanc has. She has the exact same hair.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason to look at those two as a mother-daughter.
Yes, very
duo
much so.
In both directions.
Mm-hmm.
Because Susie is literally the mother.
Yeah.
But obviously, age-wise, Madame Blanc seems to fulfill the role of mother early on in the movie, and even in the way they look.
Yeah.
There's a reflection there.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. And you know, importantly, they cut her hair off in the movie. They cut her hair for the Volk performance. You know, they cut it just like at the shoulders. And that's kind of like, you know, a lot of women, when they cut long hair, like when they have really long hair like that and they cut it, especially if it's been a long time or never, she's probably never cut her hair. She's probably never been to the barber. And a lot of women feel like you're cutting like history off of your body. That hair that's that long has been through so much with you. It's seen everything. So there's this weird connection. Like that's why women get so sad when they cut their hair off, that when it's that long and they have like that much, because it's like, that's life I've lived.
Yeah.
And so cutting her hair is such a like metaphorical moment, because it's for that performance, and that is I'm pretty sure that is the moment she switches. That is when she becomes, they have literally cut off her past.
Yeah.
And she's becoming something new. I don't know. And then just like the ropes costumes for their dance.
Are so cool.
Yeah, where they're wearing skin-toned underwear and basically just wearing red ropes.
Yeah, it's so, once they're all moving together and they're all
it's swinging
so
and like
cool looking.
It looks like blood. It looks like bondage. It's like there's so much conveyed in that costuming choice. Yeah, and then that I love Tilda Swinton's beautiful like red bat-winged dress she wears for the ceremony, when it's just this full like she's just solid red. It's beautiful. One thing we have to talk about is, you know, the Olga scene.
Let's talk about the Olga scene. So this is basically this not only sets in motion the movie for us in many ways. This is the start of this is okay, you are watching a horror movie. But it is also where we find out how brutal and gruesome the witches can be and are willing to be. We see the true extent of their power, and at the same time, this also reveals that the dancing is
the mechanism of their power,
how they do this stuff. And what happens is Madame Blanc imbues Susie with some of her magic, and again, with the benefit of hindsight, we know she's Mother Superiorum. So really, all Madame Blanc was doing was just giving her a jump, like how you would with a car.
Well, and the buildup of that scene too is because it's her first day at this company. She's just been hired on. None of the others have seen her dance yet. She hasn't proven she hasn't proven herself. She hasn't got anything. And she, the original woman, Olga, who was going to dance the protagonist in the dance, runs off in tears, screaming, upset. She calls them witches. But Susie steps up to be the lead dancer. She says she's seen it 1,000 times at the library in Ohio, and she knows it.
Yeah.
So there's this hush that comes over because no one believes she can do this.
Yeah, and so Madame Blanc touches her hands, touches her feet, and there's even that slight glow of the magic transferring to her. And she does the dance, and what we get to see is at the same time in a different room, Olga is being puppeted around by Susie's movements unwillingly. Yeah. She's being forced around the room. There's no one else in there, but it is very clear that it is Susie's motions that are causing.
Yeah, very clever editing there.
It is incredible. And what I was going to say, this scene, obviously there's plenty more to talk about with this scene, but in the whole movie, there is what I would refer to, I keep notes when we watch, if we're watching a movie that we know we're going to do a video on, I've been keeping notes. And I wrote in my notes, I said, there's grace in every movement. And it's the camera and the characters. The way we see the space, the way we see everything, there is this fluidity to it.
Sweeping. And...
They're using the principles of dance. Now I don't know anything. Admittedly, I don't know anything about dance.
Yeah,
but
you can tell though.
Yeah, it's there's something that goes beyond the intellectual understanding of dance. There is something more emotional about the movements here,
visceral and rhythmic.
Yes, and so in Olga's, I don't want to say death scene. It's not her. It's crucially
that makes
she
it so
does
much
not,
worse.
Yes,
it's one of those scenes like in Terrifier 2 or something where I'm just I would really like her to die right now.
Yeah, we talked about that. I was gonna say this reminded me of. I don't know that this would have reminded me of Terrifier otherwise, but it specifically reminded me of what you said about Terrifier, which is there comes a point where you just want a character to be able to die.
Yeah,
and if you've seen Terrifier 2. You know what scene we're talking about. Again, it's not something we can show or would even want to show, but it is just, there is a level of brutality that is, even as horror movie fans, you are unfamiliar with. Because there's an unspoken rule about what you can and can't do to characters. And oh my God, what happens to Olga is maybe one of the most brutal scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah. And I think that there's I don't even know if most, but a lot of horror movies abide by the rules of biology in death, like that this would kill a person and it's gonna kill this person.
I see what you're saying.
Like Terrifier, just like that girl is dead. Like there's no way in reality that she's still alive. And Olga's the same, where it's like like she pees herself at some point that like it like grounds it in a reality that we're not super familiar with in our general gore. Because if people were experiencing the stuff they experience in horror movies, they would pee themselves. They'd poop themselves.
Among other things.
They'd throw up. It's like our bodies just they don't handle that. And so it's like
throwing up is the usual, that a lot of times movies will show a character throwing up if they really, really, really need to sell that what's happening is not normal for this character.
Yeah.
It's somewhat rare, but when it happens, it's like it hits you different. So Olga's death is like,
and further,
or again, not death,
made more visceral and upsetting by the practicality of the effects.
Yes,
it's practically done. It with like they'll green screen out her leg and attach like a physical leg that's like going
I
up,
see.
I
see.
We did the same with the leg, so she hits the other side of the mirror room and her leg gets broken around the back. So we created a fake leg that looked like Olga's real leg.
Like if that had been done CGI or like mostly CGI, it wouldn't have had the same impact. It's like,
well, we know exactly what impact it would have had because that's exactly what they did for Pennywise in It Part 1 of the It remakes when he comes out of the fridge. It's a great shot. It's awesome.
Cheers, guys.
They do absolutely as well as they could.
Yeah.
With doing it CG, but there's something, you're right, there's something about it that's like, that's not Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah. You can tell, and there's a feeling in your body that you can like tell the difference. But yeah, that scene, I remember seeing that and just being like, yikes. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And then it's like prolonged because after Susie's done, Susie gets nauseous, because she's like overwhelmed by, she doesn't understand what just happened, but knows that like feels like something just happened. And the witches all go and they're like standing over the bent and broken body of Olga. She's like contorted in these inhuman positions.
Crying.
Yeah, she's
gasping,
drooling. Yeah. She's drenched in pee. She's crying. Her like rattle sounds like Susie's mom's death rattle. That like that breathing, which is another visceral like thing. We don't like to hear people breathing like that. It's a hard sound to hear. It's upsetting.
And that's noted in the original too. The Mother Marcos in the original has that. But it isn't played as anything other than Mother Marcos is a scary monster in this movie. Yeah. And so there's this, she just makes a scary sound. In Guadagnino's, the two characters we see wheezing like that are like, okay, these are human I have a connection to this now. Yeah. Okay. So
and all wrapped up in Suspiriorum being the mother of sighs.
Yep.
So like breathing and sighing, and even the dance involves a lot of breathing happening. That's part of the dance. So there's a lot there in that. I bet if you, like I've done with his other movies, if you watched that only by listening to it, you'd hear even more. Lots of like background breathing.
Sure.
But anyway, what I was saying, like we're introduced to their weapon of choice.
Yes.
Which I love. That is the creepiest looking thing.
The weird hooks.
Yeah, they're weird like scythe. I don't even know. Yeah. It's just like, it looks like a rib almost.
It looks like the experimental gynecology tools from Dead Ringers. It's one of those. It looks
nearing Cronenbergian.
Yeah. It seems biological.
Yes, it evokes a visceral reaction.
Bone, maybe.
It does.
Yeah. Like this came from a creature, not from a factory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it has a needle-like look, how sharp it is and how thin, and like that creates a visceral like nothing gets
like an
people going
stinger.
like a needle. Everyone has an aversion to that. So it's just this. One of my favorite shots is we see that Sarah finds that weapon at some point and takes it to show Dr. Klemperer as like proof that she's found their like inner sanctum. Mm. And he looks at it and he's like, you should leave this with me. They should, because they can't know that you have this. And he like tosses it on the glass coffee table and it just wobbles there.
There's a balance to it. There's a
malevolence.
Yeah.
Like it's moving. Like, because, you know, it's like a weird curved shape, but it's not flat. It's like bent. So it just, I don't know. It's such a simple and visceral weapon. And then Dr. Klemper ends up throwing it in the river. And they find it and they get mad at him about it. Remember when they capture him, they're like, you thought you got rid of this? And
yeah, they're mad that it's dirty now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's very matter of fact to them. They don't say, we looked into our crystal ball like the Wizard of Oz and we saw that you threw this into the bridge. It's like it doesn't matter how they know where he put that.
Of course they knew that. It's ours. Yeah. You threw it in the river.
Yeah, they're magic.
Yeah, of course we know that.
Yeah. Stupid of you to think you could hide anything from us.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny that that Madame Blanc is still alive after getting her head chopped off.
Yeah.
It's such a dramatic head chopping off because it goes from the back.
Yeah.
So her head's down and there's a spray and you're like, and she like falls to her knees and she's like sitting on her knees with her head like bent over, and we realize that scene where they're all cleaning up the blood. Yeah. We don't ever get that. We never get cleanup of the and they're just like all the women who survived it, the ones that had voted for Madame Blanc and she absolved, I guess. They're just like tired. They're sweating. They're covered in blood. They're like, they've got towels and they're like mopping up the blood. And they go over to Madame Blanc and she's just like, she's got her just looking around like, It's so goofy.
It's goofy in a good way. And it's also, her as Marcos is also, I don't know if we've even said that, but she also plays Mother Marcos. She does play Mother Marcos. And that is just, first of all, amazing prosthetics, amazing makeup.
The little like hands.
Yeah, just like infant appendages.
Like spells gone wrong.
Yeah.
Like they've tried to fix the body she has and it has not worked.
Yeah,
they made some mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another good. She's got that wheezing voice.
Yes,
she's like gasping out her words. Barely
breathe anymore.
Laughing. Let's talk about both scores, because I think both movies have the perfect score for their movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And unusual.
Yes. Goblin is perfect. They do the score for the original Suspiria. It's amazing. It is. Yeah, Goblin. yes. Goblin is great. Many of these songs from that soundtrack and from their Dawn of the Dead soundtrack are just in my normal playlists. These are just songs I listen to.
Yeah, on your vibe repair playlist, there's a lot of vibes there.
I have
strong vibes.
I have a playlist called Vibe Repair, and yes, Goblin is on the Vibe Repair playlist. Now, that being said, I was listening to both scores in preparation for this, just sort of have them on to listen to. I really liked the remake score, we should say. It's by Tom York of Radiohead fame. I liked it at the time, but listening to it just on in the background, just having it on, man, talk about the opposite of a vibe repair.
Is it bleak?
I was sitting and playing video games. I just had it on, and I was like getting mad at the game and like getting more upset than I normally would. Yeah, it was like, and I was like, I'm in hell. Like this is like, it's so dour.
I feel like I have not yet paid much. I've been paying attention to everything else in that movie, that I haven't done a watch where I'm paying attention much to the score. It's
incredible.
I'd like to listen to it on its own. I should.
I want to say that whatever Luca's notes were for how they're going to switch the vibe up for the remake, Tom understood.
He understood the assignment.
It is in the score. If the visuals of both movies could be seen as like polar opposites, the scores could too. Yeah. It's crazy how different they are. But again, I just want to really drive home. Both scores elevate their film dramatically. Mm-hmm. Both movies are hugely benefited by their very unique scores.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because Luca does music in his movies overwhelmingly flawlessly, perfection. The Challengers score, the Bones and All score, the Suspiria score, Call Me by Your Name. Queer had an amazing soundtrack. The song, I downloaded the entire soundtrack when I got home because I was like, every song was so good. But every once in a while, he makes a song choice that rubs me intensely the wrong way. To a point where it pisses, every time I see that climactic final scene in Bones and All, and that song starts playing, bro, what is this? This is not the correct vibe. Wrong vibe. Everyone, and I feel the same way about the death scenes in Suspiria. When the death is going around and killing everybody, very dramatically,
the death scene. Okay.
And you get what is that? The music is
I really like it.
I don't know.
I am a huge fan of.
It's a choice.
Extreme tonal juxtapositions.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
I get really confused, and he does that. That's the same thing with Bones. It's a tonal juxtaposition.
One of my favorite bands growing up and even still is the Unicorns, and they have a very definite this sounds like happy pop music, but if you listen to the words, oh my god, mm-hmm. This poor guy. And I've always been drawn to that. I guess I think there's something really powerful in the ability to, I don't know, make the viewer feel two things at the same time. And there's this with Suspiria, it's not so much a juxtaposition as it is an instruction on how you should feel about this.
A toning down, because it's so extreme.
Yes.
That this is actually a beautiful moment.
It is.
For her.
It is. It's a transitional moment, and also the expulsion of the evil witches. I mean, the Marcos.
Yeah.
Sect.
A defeat of evil, essentially.
Yes, there's a bunch of reasons to be happy about this scene, but just visually, you would expect the Doom soundtrack.
I guess my reaction to that death creature thing is very that feels like pure evil to me. And so when that thing comes in, I'm just, but you're right. I think you've converted me. I'm still pissed about Bones and All. I still don't have, I don't know.
Again, it's not just in the movements, like I pointed out, but it's grace. It's the quality that this movie exudes to me is a gracefulness. It is a beautiful is not the right word.
No.
For Suspiria
There's
2018.
There's two things that dance can never be again. Beautiful and something else that I can't remember. Damn it! I messed up a moment.
There are two things that dance can never be again. Beautiful and cheerful. Today we need to break the nose of every beautiful thing.
I love Dakota Johnson. I love Tilda Swinton. They're so good. I love them both. Good for them. Yeah. No, I love Dakota Johnson. I think she was a wonderful. The casting for this was just really, really fantastic.
Absolutely.
I
Mia Goth as Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And early in her horror supremacy phase, Mia Goth.
She talked about this being crazy. Like, she remembers exactly where she was when she got this role, because it was so, like, because she wanted so deeply to work specifically with Luca Guadagnino. She hadn't even seen Suspiria. She's like, he makes the kinds of movies and writes the kinds of characters that I want to be a part of. And it was really impactful, like, important moment for me. But yeah, and then Dakota Johnson just has this, like, she has such an air about her, like a calming, stoic, grounded femininity.
There's a lot of subtlety in her performance.
There really is.
I remember not thinking much of it on a first watch.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when you first watch it, especially if you've seen the original, you're expecting Susie to just sort of be just a person. So knowing the ending and then rewatching it, it's like there's so much in her performance that's just,
and the way she carries herself, her physicality, as she starts like this super naive character and morphs into like an all-powerful being, essentially. I'm enough of a fan of hers that I will see movies for her. She's one of those actors for me where I just like, even if it's bad, at least she's in it. I mean, like the Mother Superiorum that sits on that bed with Dr. Klemperer, that character, there's so much weight there. Like, you can feel her power in like her motherhood, as opposed to like the Susie that walks into the train station.
Yeah.
There's such a growth there. And it's not like she's playing two different characters either. There's a definitive growth.
No. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like Mother Superiorum usurped the real Susie.
Yeah.
It feels like Susie is Mother Superiorum. And you mentioned that he had always wanted to remake Suspiria, and it's funny because I think that's the best way to describe this remake. This is a remake that comes from a lifetime of thinking about it. Mm-hmm. You feel that. Yeah. This is the movie someone made after thinking about it for several decades. I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah.
It's funny to hear them talk about it. Luca and the cast and stuff are hesitant to call it a remake. They'll call it like a reimagining. Tilda Swinton called it a cover of it.
See, I take,
but that's just mincing words.
I take issue with that, because it's like the only reason you feel compelled to not call it a remake is because remakes are often seen as lesser or worse. Yeah. And the people involved in creating this and the people who appreciate this see that it's an elevated thing. Mm-hmm. This isn't just a shot-for-shot remake. Yeah. We're not just doing a cash grab where we want to use that familiar name and get some more ticket sales out of it. It's not that. Mm-mm. And so instead of just accepting maybe remakes can be good, and I used the word elevated. It's like the term elevated horror. You don't want to admit that horror movies can be cool and good. Yeah, so you invented the term elevated horror so you can get away with saying you like horror. It's like, no, just admit you were wrong about horror.
And that you can actually just horror movies can be smart and thoughtful. It's like you don't have to like relegate them to a special subgenre. Yeah.
It's a remake.
It's a remake.
Sorry, Luca. This is a remake.
It is.
And it's a damn good one.
It's a very...
that we liked a lot. And we're glad you made it.
I like Luca.
I like him too.
I like Tilda and Dakota.
I guess we don't need to tell people to see the movies.
No.
We assume
we just did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
blue? Are you blue?